All right. So the number one part about getting healthy or getting in shape or any of those other things, the primary thing you got to do is you got to get your mind in the right spot. Now, here's the thing. Literally everything in American society is against you getting healthy. The reason we spend more money than any other nation combined on healthcare, while we have the worst healthcare on the earth, is because everything's literally out against you. The thing is that the sicker you are, the more money the pharma makes, the more money that all the medical system makes. That's the whole deal, which is why you're getting lied to, which is why, everything's coming out, which is why, the medical system is so against the Ford study showing that vaccines make you substantially unhealthier. Because it points to why they do the vaccines in the first place is to literally make you sick and unhealthy because you're wildly profitable if you're sick, miserable, and depressed. So you have a lot of things out against you. So you've kind of got to have to start kind of figuring out, all right, what am I going to do to push myself back in the right direction? There's two theories on this one. You've got the carrot and you got the stick. The carrot is the thing that drives you towards being healthy or towards your goal. The stick is the thing that pushes you away from not achieving your goal. So the whole I'm going to get sick and die is your stick, and the I'm going to be healthy and have a great life and have all sorts of energy is your carrot in that analogy. So I like to kind of make sure we have both of those. One of the best things is that, from a financial standpoint, being healthier is substantially cheaper than being sick. So if you're looking at it from that aspect, that's great. If the idea of being able to enjoy your retirement, the idea of, being able to go out and do the things you want to do and feel the way you want to feel and be and showing up as the husband, wife, mother, father, whatever, that's what you want, great. The other side of it is that, the stick, one of the best ones I like is, for those of you who have children, you teach your children how to be by doing. They don't listen to what you say, they watch what you do. So if you decide to exercise and start changing your diet and get healthy and do those sort of things, that's going to be the thing that really kind of motivates them to get and stay healthy. So however you want to set it up, the mindset is very, very important. Literally everybody's against you on this one. So it's going to be kind of one of those things. You've got to find the people who will push you in the right direction. A lot of times you'll find guys at the gym who will help you out. You can find people, in your circle that you maybe not as close to. But a lot of times you're going to change your circle. If you hang out with a bunch of people who, complain about the world, eat trash food, are fat, and drink all the time, that's going to be the people who are pushing against you. There's also a big group of people who all are lazy and fat and don't want you to get healthy, and so they're going to give you all sorts of discouragement, whether it's flat out you shouldn't do this or you can't do that or whatever, just snide comments on the back end. So you're going to have to kind of get recognize where you're at and who all's against you. Because this is one of those things where you're going to have to get your mind in the right place. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. I always tell people, if you can get to the gym 4 or 5 days a week here for 45 minutes and you can make a determination on changing your diet, figuring out how you're going to get your food, that sort of thing, what you're going to eat, you've won. Because anytime that you're like, okay, we have time set aside to physically move and get active, and then we're actively working on the chemicals that go in our body, you will be better. It might not be overnight. It's never going to be overnight, just FYI. Might take a couple months, might take a couple years, but that path is the one that you need to kind of set for yourself. There's a lot of people out who can help. One of the things I love to do is try to make it as easy as possible. When we look at diet, I always tell people that, if you've got to give up all the things you enjoy, that's not a sustainable diet. And so what we try to do is we try to figure out, okay, what are your 10 favorite foods? You like pizza and ice cream and cookies and cakes and pies? Fine. There's ways you can eat them. And this goes back to the whole, why I argue that calories aren't really the way to measure everything, because, it's just a terrible system. I could spend an hour talking about how stupid it is. But, the idea that fiber, sugar, and protein all make you the same fat and all make you lose the same weight is hilarious. It's a hormonal functional system. So, yeah, you can have pecan pie. You can have cookies and cakes and all sorts of things and be healthier. It just depends on how you make them. So, or where you buy them. So there is those type of things. So if you're actively being like, I got to figure out how to get healthier, the things that I would make you do, I would have you think about is make it as easy on yourself as possible. So what are your favorite foods? Make sure that you can still access your favorite foods in the ways that in a way that is beneficial to you throughout your diet, throughout your function, whether that's building in reward days or whatever it is. The other thing is that, make sure that you've cleared off the time to do the things you want to do. One of the biggest things that derails people is they don't plan for making it to the gym. They don't plan for, time to cook the food. They don't plan for getting the amount of time they need for sleep. And these are just things that you've got to fit in your schedule. And it's going to be hard. And it's going to be one of those things where it doesn't work day one. Any type of change like this, I've worked with so many people, nothing works day one. After, oh, well, this doesn't work. Well, how about change it to this? Okay, that helps a little bit. Okay, how about we add this in? How about we take this away? Those type of things, make sure that you're willing to make some changes, because you're going to have to. Most of us have, pretty busy lives. And so you're going to have to take some stuff out, move some stuff around to get where you want to go. This is just kind of part of what it is. And if you're working with somebody, most people are going to be able to help you kind of figure out how to do all those things. So that's one of those things where I would highly recommend that you work with somebody. Like, find somebody who's going to help you, figure out your diet and how to get your diet in, how to get your favorite foods in. Figure out somebody who's going to help you with supplementation, because you're never going to get the nutrients you need just from eating. But the biggest thing is that, you've got to figure out how you're going to motivate yourself, how you're going to get where you need to go. Like, when I do goals calls, one of the things we talk about is, why is this important to you? What is it about this that is driving you to get where you're trying to go? And so, getting that mindset piece established early is very important, because the whole, when it gets tough, think back to why you started. That's a big deal. And so if you can remember, oh, I started this because I'm trying to, get healthier for my kids, or, I don't want to have, diabetes, or whatever, it works really well. I see a lot of divorced men and women who are just trying to get their life back together, because, a lot of times after divorce, everything's been destroyed, emotionally, financially, all those things. So that one's easier to start over from nothing and kind of build up. But you don't have to get to that position. A lot of people I work with are just trying to get a little bit better, incrementally, and which is always fun, because I talk about this a lot, where people come in and we'll work on stuff and they're like, look, I just want to be healthy. I don't need a six pack or anything like that. And then after a couple of months, like 6, 8, 10 weeks, 2 months like that, they come in and they're like, hey, remember how I said I didn't need a six pack? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, I'm just curious. What's the plan look like if I did want the six pack? And the reason that I love this conversation is because it means that the time, the energy, the money, the sweat and the pain that they put into this, they invested in this, they got an equal to or greater return than what they thought they were going to get. And so they're willing to, invest more time, energy, and function. And so that's a lot of ways people can do this. Start off small, make your goals, have a plan of hitting each one of your little mini goals to get to your actual goal, and then measure it. If people always come in, they're like, I don't know if I'm getting where I'm supposed to go. I was like, well, let's look at your list. And you're like, how are you here? I'm better. How are you here? I'm better. How are you here? I'm better. Oh, well, I guess what I'm doing is beneficial. I guess it is working out. Yeah, you're getting closer to the goals you set. And so that's one of those things. We're setting good goals, and then setting intermediate goals. So the whole I want to lose 20 pounds. Great. Let's break that up into, I want to get to the gym 5 days a week, and I want to, come up with 4 or 5 things that I'm going to make at home or get made at home. Great. That's your steps along the way to losing your 20 pounds. I want to get stronger. Whatever it is. We set those goals, and then we set smaller goals on the inside of how we're going to get to that goal. That's the plan, the daily stuff, the things that you do, the way you show up every day. Those are some of the things that you want to make sure that you're setting up. So if you're trying to get healthier, first you got to define, what is health to you? What do you mean by getting healthier? What is it? What's the tangible function? So when you get there, you can be like, I am here, I am healthy. This is my definition. And then set yourself up metrics. Okay, if this is healthy and I am here, what do I need to do? What are the steps I need to take to get to where I'm going? Great. Then as you start doing those things, you start recognizing, you can start tracking your progress. That's the big thing. That's how we make sure that we're getting where we're supposed to go. So keeping your mindset where it's supposed to be is highly dependent on, one, having a goal, and then two, having a plan to get to your goal, and then checking the metrics of the measurements of how you're doing it to make sure that you're on the right path. There's a whole lot of people I've worked with that once they set their little goals and they're like, hey, I'm not here yet. In fact, I can't even see here, but the things I'm supposed to do on a regular basis, I've done a lot of, and I can now see change because of that. Great. We're hitting these individual small goals. They add up to the middle goals. Those middle goals add up to the bigger goals. And so that's the big way that you're trying to set this up. And if you don't do this on your own, which is very difficult if you've never done it, get with somebody who can help you set those goals. Get with somebody who can help you kind of plan those things out and kind of keep you moving in the right direction. That's the biggest thing on the mindset, is that you've got to not only figure out where you want to go, you've got to figure out the daily function, and then you've got to figure out what it is that's going to keep you going into that grind, going into that new habit that is difficult to set, going to that new function, that new lifestyle, those, making room for the new things. What is that mindset? What is the reason why you're doing these things? And once you have all those things kind of set up, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to actually hit your long-term health goals. So if you guys haven't done that, do that, or get with somebody who can help you do that, because that's going to be the big thing. So as we go through all this how to get healthy stuff, remember the mindset's the biggest deal. Like, if you just show up at the gym and you just kind of pedal for the first 2-3 weeks, that's fine as long as you show up, because it's easier and easier and easier to get you to do more and more and more workout as long as you're there. If you're figuring out how to make food and you can only do 3 or 4 things, that's great. Make 3 or 4 things, because as soon as you get good at 3 or 4, we can make it 30. It's not the most difficult thing in the world. We just got to build up. We have to persevere through it. So keep your mindset where it needs to be. It is easily the most difficult part, and it's also the most important part. So if you can keep your mindset where it's supposed to be, you will succeed. If you guys have any other questions to this up, have a fantastic day.